let's talk about some specialty leathers. Leathers other than cowhide. Alligator and crocodile. Leather from these animals has been commonly used for accessories for quite a long time. Not only do the hides of these animals provide a very interesting texture and durable leather, but they also have a natural shine. Today, alligators are common in the southern U.S., and alligator skin is still used as a luxury leather in many products. The leather from reptiles is particularly coveted and adaptable because it has excellent waterproofing properties, and the scales typically have very interesting and beautiful patterns to them. Ostrich. This seems an odd animal to get leather from, but indeed we do. And in fact, it is quite often found in luxury leather goods. It features a pimpled, bumpy texture. Although this leather is perfectly fine and is often seen as luxurious, it first came about because ostriches themselves were being farmed for their meat and feathers, not for their leather. So ostrich they're actually farmed in America in some places, but they're farmed in all over the world. They're not endangered, and they're farmed, again, for their meat and their feathers. Their feathers also play a very large part in fashion. They're quite large, and they flutter about quite elegantly. So they are used as trimming and embellishments for many garments and hats and costumes. Of course, whenever we harvest an animal for meat or any other purpose, we try to use as many parts of the animal as we can to not waste anything. So it would just make sense that if these animals are being farmed for meat, that their skin be turned into leather as well. The pimply textures are where the feathers came into their body. Hair-on hides. Now this may seem like it should belong in the fur section because there is indeed animal fur on it. Hair-on hides are more typically considered a type of leather than they are a fur. I'm not sure why, because they seem a bit like fur to me. Hair-on hides again refer to any skin that is typically used for leather but still has animal fur on it. So a mink skin, which is typically used just for fur, would not be considered a hair-on hide, even though indeed it is hair on a hide. Typically we'll see things like horse or goat or cow made with for hair-on hides. The fur of the animal is kept on and is typically short, as the fur for these animals typically are short. A lot of times we can also see them in deer hides. The hides themselves can be printed or have the natural animal markings on them. Lamb. Also known as lambskin leather, it is the leather harvested from young sheep. This type of leather is very soft, supple, and pliable, making it excellent leather for gloves and other close-fitting garments, or anything that needs to have a beautiful feel against the skin and stretch for comfort. Sheepskin. Sheepskin is a type of hair-on hide that specifically comes from sheep. The sheepskin combines the durability of leather with the added warmth of the wool still attached. Sheepskin is most used for jackets where wool serves as an added insulator. These coats are very warm. So we can see, unlike other hair-on garments, the wool is typically kept on the inside as an insulative measure where the leather is displayed on the outside. This, of course, is a technique of harvesting sheep wool that does harm the animal, of course. Anytime that we harvest leather or fur from an animal, the animal is killed in the process. This, of course, is opposed to sheep shearing, where we harvest the wool just by giving the sheep a haircut. And it is fine. In fact, it is better for the haircut. Snakeskin. The beautiful patterns found on snakes has long doomed them to be prized for their leather. One can make leather from any kind of snake. However, many types are protected today, and any type that is threatened or endangered is strictly illegal. However, there are other snakes that are not threatened or endangered and are used for their skin to make mostly shoes, but other types of garments and hats as well. The most common type of snakeskin seen today is from the python snake. They are quite easily raised in captivity and grow quite large, so they can provide a lot of leather. Rattlesnake skin is also commonly seen in the American Southwest, as they are very common animals, and they are also dangerous and seen as a nuisance because they are venomous. Many people would prefer to have them out of their neighborhoods altogether. So, as they are culling them, they may as well use their skin to make a handbag. Stingray. Stingray leather comes from a flat fish of this name. It's also called a skate. Its leather is bumpy and features a light diamond shape on the top, which is often carefully placed as a design detail on the products that they create. Beaver tail. Beaver tail leather is made from the long, flat tail of a beaver. It has a flat, scaled-like texture. Like all leathers that come in smaller scale hides, this leather is usually used to make shoes, wallets, and belts that use less amount of leather. Now this is very rare because the beaver really, in addition to having its tail be used for leather, was a highly coveted animal for its fur. I have not included it in the first section because we're no longer allowed to harvest fur from beavers. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that beaver leather is even used today. However, there are trapping programs for the beaver that are maintained in sustainable ways, so the populations are never hurt too bad, and some can be harvested for their leather. So it does exist. You can find it. However, I think we should leave the beaver alone. Next, we'll talk about furs.